Hey, how's it going? So, uh, for those who don't know me, my name is Bryant, and full disclosure before I continue any further, the following, I have a script for this. I'm not a certified financial advisor. This is all an act. Do not attempt to do anything you are about to watch. Consult your own financial professional. This is not meant as advice or to be taken seriously. There's going to be a lot of inaccurate information. I'm stupid. Don't listen to me. Okay, stay. Okay, so don't you watch the channel. Anyway, so to the topic at hand that I want to discuss today, the difference between a lot of people ask me this. They say, "Oh, gambling, investing is like gambling, right?" So I want to talk about the distinctions between investing versus gambling. A lot of them there's some similarities in terms of like probability of chance and but I want to just give like a conceptual, simple gloss over of it, let's say. So gambling, when I think of gambling, I think most commonly the lottery, like New York lottery, New Jersey lottery, any lottery, right? You put $1 in and 1 in 300 million chance, something like that, you'll win, right? So for a lot of people, scratch offs or so on and so forth, it's a system designed by nature to extract as much money from people overall as possible. They sell you a big dream, just $1. So the risk in the individual point is rather low. So if you say like, oh, $1, well, $1 doesn't really do much for me, right? But then $1 over the course of a year, $5 every day over the course of a year, it starts to add up. So it could be like $500 or over 10 years, if you do $1 a day, 365 times 10, $3,650. It adds up, and the chances of you winning are pretty slim. I mean, I don't really have to say like how slim. Like people know, like you get struck by lightning 10 times before you win once. So really, it's like a form of entertainment. Then the other form of gambling, I would probably consider like roulette, blackjack, slots. Mathematically, casinos, well, they call them the house, right? The house always wins. The idea behind that is that if they don't win consistently over you, they don't have a casino to run because that's how they create their revenue. That's how they make money. So it's really in their interest to win all the time because they also have investors. See, there's a common theme, right? Investors investing in casinos where people gamble and trade back. So I don't like the idea of associating gambling with investing simply because I think it's night and day, and a lot of people find comfort or they justify fear in investing because they associate so strongly with this idea of gambling. So now that gambling's out of the way, and of course there is a probability of winning, but it's like, where am I going to place my bets statistically? And that's a whole nother topic. So let's talk about investing. So when I think about investing, what comes to mind? I think of real estate investing, people that buy a property and the property hopefully appreciates over time, or they think, well, I can't afford one, so I can't really talk about real estate investing in the conventional sense. Or they think about like buying stocks, or even nowadays cryptocurrency, or like gold or collectibles, or investing in a business, investing in yourself. Now, not all investments will make you money. There's risk involved. But if I had a choice between the two, would I choose to invest or gamble? First, I would make the distinction between investing and gambling. All right, so take the gambling out of it. I would definitely place my bets, so to speak, on investing. So what are some investments that people think in mind, right? This is, of course, not an all-encompassing list. Like, I'm not saying this is every possible investment you can ever make, but let's go through a few basic ones, right? Basic ones, let's say ones that people generally can do, I can do, you can do. The first one that comes to mind is stocks. Now, a lot of people think of stocks as scary. If I put $100 in the stock market, I'm going to lose it all, right? So then they associate this idea heavily of gambling. Let's look at some facts. So the S&P 500 over the course of 5 years, minus the coronavirus tank, and then it went back up. Historically, overall, if you diversify yourself in a basket of stocks, you'll beat at the very least inflation. Historically, not, I mean, tomorrow it could crash to nothing and you have nothing, right? Then we'll have bigger problems, and then we'll talk about things like the fact that the dollar doesn't mean anything because, you need something. So, what do I think of stocks? I think about buying stocks like S&P 500 ETFs, which is a basket of stocks. You diversify, and I think about things like starting within your means. So what I mean is that obviously if you have debt and other obligations and things that are beyond your control, obviously take care of yourself first, right? In all sense of the words. I'm not saying that everyone can do it. It's the easiest thing in the world. I'm assuming I'm operating under outside of you and me, right? So I'm making a assumption or a guess that if you have extra money lying around for whatever reason, rather than putting it into cash, you might want to invest it instead. So why would people not want to put money into cash and want to invest instead? Right, sort of like jumping around a bit. Because when you put money in the form of cash loses to inflation. So you're guaranteed to lose money every year. If you put $100 in your wallet and leave it there for 10 years, you'll lose like maybe 1 or 2% or 3% a year. That $100 is not going to have the same purchasing power it used to 10 years ago, a year ago. And year by year, it's very small. So people don't really notice it, right? Like if I have $100, it buys me 30 cents less this year. It doesn't really change my life. But the point is, it's about over time. So why take the chance in investing? Because if you take the chance in investing, historically, the returns have been greater than that of inflation, for one, and two, you have a high enough upside to make the downside risk worth it. So what do I mean by that? Let's say if by nature you can set aside $1 a day every day for a year. So you put in $365 into stocks, bonds, cryptocurrencies, or whatever. You have a better probability if you do it diversified, which is buying a different set of stocks or investments, to beat the market. I mean, not beat the market, but to at least beat inflation. So you at least are protecting your wealth in some sense. Well, and then people say, well, if I only have $1 a day, how can I do that? Glad you asked. So there are platforms like Robinhood that allow fractional shares. So you can buy like $1 of Apple, $1 of Netflix, $1 of Microsoft, and they don't charge any fees or commissions. So if you buy $1 of Microsoft today, and then there's no commission, assuming Microsoft keeps going up, then you'll at least have that minimum, that initial dollar that you put in. There's no like $10 cut every time you buy or sell. So I recommend checking out platforms like Robinhood. If you want to go into diversifying into stuff like real estate, there are options that are out there like Fundrise that take your money and basically have someone else manage it by property, and then it's invested in real estate assets. And then there's the other option, which is cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is a fickle one because the fluctuations have been so high that it's hard to tell where it's going to go. So I don't really want to even mention it as an investment. I guess for me it would be like somewhere in between investing and gambling. So the pros and cons. The pros is that the way cryptocurrency work is you have a bunch of computers mining the blockchain, and as long as more than half of those computers are honestly mining the blockchain in terms of half the computing power, then the blockchain doesn't get corrupted. So you're assuming that more people are honest than not in terms of of maintaining this system. So there's a finite amount of the currency. Like with Bitcoin, I think it's 21 million coins, and hypothetically, no more can be ever made than that. So I guess, in a sense, yes, it's a scarce asset, and then it's created in a scarce fashion. But again, it's not an area I want to like sort of concretely say cryptocurrency is an investment. So what are some investment things that I think of when I think of investing? I think of things like stocks, which is shares of a company, bonds, which is debt issued by a company, or I think of like a ETF, which is a fund, which is a collection of stocks and other investments that someone manages for you, right? They can trade back and forth in the market. Now, let's focus on some cons when it comes to investing. One, it's illiquid, relatively illiquid, meaning that if you want to pull the money out, right? Like, let's say you have an emergency and you need cash. If you have $10,000 in your checking account at the bank, we're assuming that you can withdraw that money from the bank when you need it, take it in cash, and buy what you have to buy or pay what bills you have to pay. If you're doing it with the stock market, you have to first sell the stock during market hours, so Monday through Friday, 9:30 to 4. Yeah, 9:30 to 4, I think. Or extended if the platform offers it. And then after you sell the stock, you have to wait for it to transfer into your account. And that could take a while. So you might lose like a 3 business day window. So and then at the same time, you risk it crashing. Like if a company has a bad earnings and doesn't do well, or declares bankruptcy, or people are like, this company is not doing anything anymore with itself, then the stock prices crash, then you lose a lot of money, right? So, and then there's the upside of like, let's say Tesla or Netflix, when they started, they were a lot cheaper, and then over time they appreciated in value, or like they doubled in value. So if you had like $100, it could become 200, and it grew over time. Then you get the gains. So it really depends on your individual risk profile. Like if you're risk adverse, then a risk adverse person would probably be thinking, I'll just hold on to cash because at least I can count on it. But at the same time, there's a indirect cost to doing so as well, which is being eaten up by inflation over time. So your cash will never grow past the rate of inflation, and the bank account interest rates, like savings or checkings, if it's like, I think it's like 0.1%, if you're lucky, 0.03%, you're guaranteed to lose whatever the inflation rate is per year. So if, like, let's say inflation rate is 3% today, and then you put it in the bank with 0.01% interest or whatever, and you have $100, then you're going to lose $2.99 or something like that every year in terms of what you can do with it. So that's the risk you're paying for. And then you have risk loving. And if you're risk loving, you might take all your money out of your checking accounts, out of your savings, be like, okay, YOLO, let me just everything in the stock market. And then so when you do that, and then you buy stocks that end up doing well, then you get all the benefits of that, right? Because you take the risk and the company does well, then great. What happens if it doesn't do well and then it just crashes suddenly, right? Then you can hold on to it till it goes back up. But if you need money and you're desperate, then what tends to happen is when the stock market crashes, people are desperate. They take the money out of the stock account, then they commit to the loss, and then they don't have the chance to wait it out and wait for the upside, right? So then they take a loss. What happens when you take a loss when you buy stocks? Well, there are a few things that can happen, which is unique to investing versus gambling. When you buy a lotto ticket, you can't write off that loss at the end of the year. With stocks, you can write up, I think it's, don't quote me, I think it's like $3,000 at the end of the year against your taxable income, something like that. But there are some protections that are afforded to you. So the risk is a lot more minimal. What else am I thinking about in terms of that I want to add about stocks and investing? So yeah, definitely do your research. See what works best for you. Again, everyone's situation is very unique and different. That's why I recommend you talk to an actual financial advisor. Although I would make sure that the financial advisor is bound by is a fiduciary. What that means is they act on your interest rather than their own interest. So a lesson that it's actually from my parents is that back in the days, like 1980, something like that, when you used to have stockbrokers predominantly and people didn't really trade their own stocks, a stockbroker is concerned with making commission. So they're concerned with, historically, right? I'm not saying all stockbrokers do this, but this is a unique situation for my parents. A stockbroker is concerned with you buying and selling a stock as frequently as possible, because every time you do, it feeds their commission in their pocket. They make a percentage of that. So my philosophy is, at that time, it's very difficult to have someone really advise you if their only means of making money is if you buy and sell. It doesn't matter if the market is good or bad or so on and so forth. But definitely do your own research and see what's benefits for you. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments section and I'll look them over and maybe we can go further with it. Anyway, thank you for listening to me. Have a good day.